They laughed. They rolled their eyes. They smiled like they were rooting for me. But deep down, they were betting against me. Some of them said it out loud. Others said it in silence. In body language. In backhanded compliments and polite doubts. You really think you can do that? Must be nice to have all that time. Don't get your hopes up. And for a while, I believed them. I let their words write my limits. I shrunk my vision to fit their comfort. I turned down the volume on my calling so I wouldn't make anyone uncomfortable. I played small. I said things like, maybe someday. I'm just trying. We'll see. But inside, I was burning. I wasn't mad at them. I was mad at me, for believing them. For letting people who never built anything decide how far I could go. I was waiting for approval from people who had never even met their own potential. That's when it clicked. They don't have to believe in me. I do. Their doubt is not my ceiling. Their fear is not my future. Their limitations are not my legacy. And the truth is, every single person who ever made it heard the same thing. You can't. You won't. That's not realistic. But the difference? They didn't use it as proof to stop. They used it as fuel to start. That's what I did. I stopped explaining. I started executing. I stopped looking for agreement. I started building results. I stopped waiting for a sign. I became the sign. I remember the first day I showed up differently. It wasn't some massive leap. It was a decision. To move like it was already done. To act like I belonged in the room. To speak like I knew where I was headed, even if I was still building the road. That decision changed everything. Because here's the truth. No one will believe in you harder than you believe in yourself. And most people won't clap for you until it's safe, until the vision is proven. Until the risk is over. Until you don't need them anymore. That's just how it works. So I stopped expecting applause. I got comfortable with silence. I fell in love with obscurity. I embraced the season of building in the dark. And in that darkness, I built discipline. I built vision. I built a version of me that didn't need permission to move. Because when they say, you'll never make it, they're not talking to your future. They're talking to your past. They're projecting their pain, their regrets, their own decision to quit on themselves. And once I saw that, I forgave them, but I didn't follow them. I kept going. I learned to show up on the days I didn't feel like it. I kept promises to myself even when nobody was watching. I said no to things that felt good in the moment but didn't serve the mission. And slowly, everything started to shift. People asked, what change? I did. I stopped seeing doubt as a threat and started seeing it as a test. Could I keep going without validation? Could I believe in something before it was real? Could I trust the fire even when all I had was smoke? That's what separates the ones who talk from the ones who build. You don't need proof to start. You just need courage to take the first step. In part 2, I'll tell you exactly what I did next, how I turned doubt into discipline, how I scaled when no one believed, and how you can too. But for now, just remember, the world doesn't believe in what it can't see. That doesn't mean you're wrong. That means you're early. Keep building. They said I'd never make it. And maybe for a while. They were right, because I hadn't decided who I really was yet. But once I did, everything changed. I stopped trying to prove them wrong and started working to prove myself right. I stopped chasing validation and started stacking evidence. The real shift didn't come when I got noticed. It came when I got relentless. Quiet, consistent, focused. That's when I started winning. Not in public, in private. So let me walk you through exactly how I did it, how I turned all that doubt, that silence, that you can't, into something you can't ignore. First, I built a discipline engine. I didn't wait for motivation. I built systems. I picked 3 actions that I could do daily, small, powerful moves that compounded. For me, it was create 1 piece of value every day, reach out to 1 person who could move the needle, and do 1 hard thing that made me uncomfortable. That was my engine. No excuses, no emotion, just reps. I ran that loop when I was tired. I ran that loop when no one was watching. And over time, people had to watch. The momentum got too loud. Second, I created my own scoreboard. Most people stay stuck because they're playing someone else's game. I stopped measuring success by likes, followers, or applause. I tracked impact, progress, clarity, how many days in a row I showed up, how often I followed through. That's how confidence gets built, not from external hype, but from internal alignment. Third, I weaponized repetition. I didn't just set goals. I set up triggers, visual reminders, physical anchors. My phone lock screen said, move like it's done. My journal ended with, "What did I earn today?" My environment echoed the identity I was building. I rewired my mind, not through hype, but through pattern. That's how you break belief ceilings. You replace them with new loops. Fourth, I stopped running from rejection and started tracking it. Every no became a proof point. Every unanswered message, every ignored pitch, I kept count. Not to feel small, to remind myself, I'm in motion. Most people hear one no and collapse. I heard 50 and kept pressing. Because I knew the yeses were inevitable. Not because I was lucky. Because I refused to leave. Fifth, I built leverage. When people doubted me, I didn't argue, I outworked. I used the silence to sharpen. I created content, launched products, built systems. I wasn't trying to be viral. I was trying to be undeniable. I focused on value that outlasted the hype. And when you do that long enough, the results start talking louder than the opinions ever did. Sixth, I stayed humble enough to learn and bold enough to move. I studied the greats. I dissected what worked. I stopped thinking I had to figure it all out alone. But I never let learning turn into stalling. I took messy action, fast action, scary action. That's the balance. Be a student, but never stop building. Seventh, I built a support system. Not cheerleaders, truth tellers. People who didn't flatter me. They challenged me. They said, "Good, now go harder." I found people who didn't see my vision as too big. They saw it as too small. That changed everything. Because belief is contagious. And so is fear. Choose wisely who you let in. Eighth, I forgave. The doubters. The mockers. The people who disappeared when it got hard. I let it all go. Not because they were right. But because I needed the space. You can't build a future when your hands are full of old resentment. I forgave. Then I focused. And lastly, I never stopped. That's it. The final key. I never quit. I built on the hard days. I launched in silence. I celebrated alone. I trusted the work. I stopped asking, "Is it working?" and started asking, "Am I working?" Because when you become the kind of person who keeps going, everything changes. Eventually, the world catches up. They start asking how you did it. They start quoting the dream they once laughed at. They start clapping, but you're not building for the claps anymore. You're building because this is who you are now. So what happened next? I made it. Not just financially. Not just professionally. I made it mentally. I became the kind of person I used to envy. Not because it was easy. But because I decided the story wouldn't end where they said it would. So let them doubt. Let them underestimate. Let them talk. You keep building. You keep believing. And one day, they won't be able to ignore what you refused to stop becoming.